Hey everyone, it's Janine. Hey, hey, hey. You guys know how I am. Oh, hold on, my TV's going off. One second. Hold on, my TV's going off. Okay, that is so unprofessional. I didn't know that my TV volume was up. I thought I turned it all the way down. But anyway, we are here with the wonderful, the extremely intelligent,
Oh, 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 oh.
the talented, the funny,
Mm.
the wonderful Mykol Arrington. Yay!
Hello, Miss Jeannie. How you doing, home girl?
I am doing great. Mykol is I'm going to talk about all the things that he is. He is a father, he is a husband. You have two kids, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You have two boys.
I do.
And he also is a grandfather. How many
That I am.
grandchildren? How many
I love
grandchildren?
my great grandbabies.
How
There's
many do you
four of
have?
them. There's four of them. Actually, one's a step, but you know, I have
Right.
four grandbabies that I love. Yeah,
Wow. I didn't know you have four. Okay. Okay. So there's some more in the picture. Wow.
they are.
Wow.
Yes.
Congratulations. So Mykol is an engineer, and he's a really good friend of my husband's. My husband is an engineer. I'm going to let you talk about how you started being an engineer and your journey in becoming an engineer. So take it away, Mykol.
Wow. Uh, this story's a long time in the making. It's been blessed by God. If I can't start the story without starting with my family, with my parents, my grandparents, my siblings. Uh, didn't really realize it until I got into this.
Oh no, I'm
That
losing
played a
you.
huge role. Oh no,
Okay, I can see you now. Pause for a second. Go ahead. I'm sorry. So,
my upbringing played a huge role on who I am and how I became an electron chaser. And so, my dad, my grandfather, they were outdoorsmen, did a lot of farming. We scrapped every metal that can be scrapped growing up. So we did a lot of demolition. There was a guy in town that had an appliance center, and he had an entire, almost an acre of just old washers and dryers in the back. And dad took on the job to clear that out. So we had to take those washers and dryers apart, refrigerators, and try to separate the metals so we could get more for each load that we took.
okay, let me stop you for 1 second. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Massillon, Ohio, the
Okay.
home of the great Massillon Tigers. They
Okay.
were Massillon was one of the original NFL teams and played in the original NFL schedule. So it's a football town, Northeast Ohio, 50 miles directly south of Cleveland. It's in the snow belt. It's in Stark County, which also has the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
So snow is a huge part of a huge part of my journey and the major reason I don't live in Ohio.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So yes, we grew up in Northeast Ohio, Steel Town. There was Union Drawn there, and so most of the young men that didn't go into the military went to the mill, or one of the mills, or Timken Roller Bearing was closed. So there was a lot of factory work there. And growing up, I did not want to go into the mill. I didn't want to work in the steel mill industry. It was dirty and just not for me. So my plan coming out of high school and going through high school, I was in the band. We had a wonderful marching band. We did a lot of touring. Uh, uh, Side note is when Jim Brown was inducted into the Hall of Fame, I was standing on the 45-yard center field with him, or as the band, we were on the field. So just, I've had a lot of brushes with history. I just been blessed. I have just totally been blessed. Nothing that I've done, it's handed down through my family.
Now, how many siblings do you have?
I have three older sisters. There's a gap of 7 years, and then I have three older brothers. So
Wow.
total, there's seven of us. There was an eighth. Ernest died. He was the first boy born, but he only lived a few months, so he was
Hmm.
an infant death. But when I came along, there were already six. I was the seventh. Not really wanted.
Mm.
My sister asked if I had hair when I was born. And since I had hair, they said it was okay because the rest of the boys were born bald. So, having hair got me into the house. So,
Wow. Okay.
but having older sisters, my older sister was 16 when I was born.
Wow.
The next was 14 and 13. So having older sisters like that was a true blessing. It was
Hmm.
really, really a true blessing. So that was my basic high school years, was in Massillon, was in the band, was voted the first black male president of the Massillon Tiger Swing Band.
Hmm. And
Uh,
so was this like right after segregation? Why are you laughing
I'm
at
not
me?
that old, Judy.
I'm no,
This
no.
was
But
in the
I'm saying,
70s.
I mean, I know you're not that old, but I'm saying, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying.
It's
Never mind.
okay. It's all right. It's all right, Miss Jeannie. I got you. I got you, girl. But anyway,
But what year was
anyway,
this? If you don't mind me asking, what year was this, man?
this was I graduated in 75.
Okay, so you're close to my
So
sister's age.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're
I
close to my
graduated
sister.
in
Yeah.
75. So, this was early 70s time frame. Massillon was actually quite progressive. Actually, Northeast Ohio was quite progressive. There
Mm-hmm.
were a lot of American blacks were being voted into office and
Mm-hmm.
into important roles. So it was really significant to be in that space at that time because of how progressive it
Mm-hmm.
really is today and it was back then in the early 70s.
Wow.
So, that's where I went to high school. Again, my goal was coming out of high school, I was going to join the Air Force, become part of the military band, and
Mm-hmm.
just tour the world in the Air Force. Well, that came to an abrupt halt after I had done the 8 hour physical for that military entrance, uh, when they were summarizing my paperwork, I'm allergic to bee stings, and they
Oh, wow.
rejected me because of my allergy. And
Wow,
their
wow.
their thought was, hey, if you're out in the bush and you're an
Mhm.
important piece in the bush and you get stung, we can't we can't put the company or we can't put your team at risk.
Right, right.
But out of that process, an aptitude for an electronics was born.
Mhm.
So then it was shortly after that, a few days later, I had a friend send a recruiter to my house from Ohio Institute of Technology, which is it, at the time it was a Bell and Howe school. So it
A
was
bell and what?
strictly a Bell and Howe.
What's
Bell
that?
and Howe. Bell and Howe used to make all the little gadgets back in the day. And
Okay.
so, yeah, they had a technical school. The bride ended up buying the location. This
Okay.
was shortly after I graduated. So it's
Mhm.
that type of institution, technical institution.
Mhm.
And so my dad said, hey, you can stay here and get a job and live by my rules, or you can try to go to school, get a job, and maybe you can at some day create your own rules.
Mhm.
Dad was a minister, so those rules were pretty tight. My
Mhm.
choice was kind of made based on the fact I wanted to have some independence.
Mhm.
So that was in Columbus, Ohio. I spent 3 years in Columbus, Ohio, and during the my last year at the tech school, Texas Instruments sent recruiters to the campus. And the recruiter I had was a development design engineer. And he had a picture of an integrated circuit. And at that moment, I decided that I was going to get into circuit development.
Mhm.
I did not accept the role that they offered at that interview, but once I got back, once I got back to my apartment and met with my girlfriend, uh, she kind of changed my mind. And the reason I was really keen and in tune for the interview with Texas Instrument because I told my girlfriend, who at the time loved Dallas, the show Dallas. It had only been out maybe one season.
Uh-huh.
It was like the first few episodes. And when I told her that Texas Instruments was coming to a school, she said, what city? I said, Dallas. She said, you're going to that interview and you're going to do real well. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, yes, ma'am. So I did. And I eventually took the position. It was not in circuit development, it was in uh, equipment. It was in the equipment group, as they called it at the time. We were developing and working on missile guidance systems. And the
Wow.
group that I went into was the Seeker. It was called the Harpoon Seeker. And it was the detection device in front of the Harpoon missile. And we had to do not only the temperature testing, but the initial alignment of these radar detection devices.
Mhm.
I had to get out of that group because I realized the better that I did my job,
The
the
more
more
people.
people were going to die.
Right.
And
Thank
I just,
you.
and I couldn't take it. And
Right. Thank
the
you.
reason I went there was to do circuit development.
Mm-hmm.
One of my classmates lived in the same apartment complex down here. Again, TI recruited a lot of guys out of my tech school.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of hung together once we got in the area because we knew nobody here.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked in the circuit development group. So I asked him for his manager's name. He gave me the manager's name. I set up a meeting with him. And his words to me were, "You want to get in this group?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "We got people leaving left and right. You go talk to this guy." So again, these are just blessings, not anything that I've done, just blessings that I feel that I've been the beneficiary of. That girlfriend that the girlfriend that talked me into going to the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
I want to take you back a little ways. Do you remember the movie 10
Yeah.
with Bo Derek and
Mm-hmm.
Dudley Moore?
Yes.
Well, that was brand new. So my roommates and I, there were four of us, we had seen the movie. And so we're sitting around and we're describing our tens, what a 10 would be. And so we go around collectively, we came up with a 10 for our room that I probably won't share here. But when I described my 10, and at the time, Denise Nicholson was my heartthrob.
I know
And I
Denise Nicholson is.
basically described Denise Nicholson. And my roommate said, "You need to meet Donnie's." And I said, "Really?" So, time passed. My lab partner and I, we went to a dance, and I asked, there was a group of three ladies standing there, and I asked, "Hey, would one of you ladies like to dance?" So this lady said, "Okay, I will." We ended up dancing the night away, as they say. We danced till it was over. And at the curb, I got her phone number. And I could remember her phone number, but I couldn't remember her name. Well, to make a long story less long, she turned out to be the girl that my roommates told me I need to meet. And now she's our 42nd year marriage. So again, just blessings. So once I moved to Dallas, I got into the circuit group. It's really where I wanted to be. It was kind of perfect timing in the industry because the circuit development was really just starting to take off. And we had to do a lot of things manual. You know, integrated circuits are just a bunch of squares and rectangles. And so we had to draw all of these things out on what we called Mylar. And then we had to digitize each layer differently. So we could then make a mask that could be used in printing for that circuit. And so it was great education. It was the Circuit Design Development Group at TI. It was really, really involved circuit design. From there, I went to the corporate research group at TI, and that was the next level up. At that point, one of the engineers, or actually he was a technician at the time that was going to school for his degree, he transferred or switched jobs to a company called National Semiconductor. And once he became, it was in Arlington. I lived in the southern part of Dallas area, Red Oak and DeSoto, and I really didn't like driving across town to North Dallas. So when Mr. Priest went to National, I told him, if there's openings out there, just let me know. So a few months later, he called me and said, hey, we have some openings. And that was one of the best moves that I was blessed with, because going to National, they were a new company in town. I was the 15th person hired to work for National Semiconductor in this area. And so, I'm sorry, your microphone is off. There we go. No, I can't hear you now. I hear a click.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I had it down. I don't know why it went down. So a lot of people in this group aren't engineers, so we're trying to. I mean, I kind of know what you're talking about because my husband's an engineer. But let me ask you some general questions right now.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
I remember this was the 80s, and my sister's friend, there's a woman, black woman. She had just graduated school and had started her first job, and she was saying how difficult it was being a black woman in the engineering world because there weren't so many of them of that many black women uh, as engineers. So when you first started, how was it for you? Were they? I mean, what did you encounter, or did you encounter anything?
Oh, yes, ma'am. And more so after I became established as opposed to initially,
Hmm.
uh, because initially it was, hey, we need the hands and anyone that can do the job, let's kind of get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Once I started really owning my craft and being better and being recognized for, some of my skills and, some of my influences, then yes, it was much more difficult. What I did notice as an American Black, what I did notice was that my coworkers could talk to their family members or people in their parent
Mm-hmm.
circle that could help them and they could work through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't ask Uncle Bubba about designing circuits, right? He
Mm-hmm.
knew about how to, build a masonry wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And dad knew about steel and how to, get burrs off of steel, but that really didn't play into trying to learn and understand that background for electronics, or for
Right.
circuit development. So we didn't, and not being from an area like Dallas where there's a lot of technical stuff going on, we just didn't have the family background that other
Mm-hmm.
cultures have. They have
Mm-hmm.
generations that have, either been engineering of some type or, some development roles.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really unique. There's something that comes to mind. You know, um, there's a saying that says either put up or shut up,
Mm-hmm.
right? There were a lot of American Blacks out on the lines protesting, saying, give us a chance, give us a chance. The 60s, the 50s, the 60s, those Blacks went through a real tough time of saying, give us a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my generation was the ones that they gave a chance to.
Right.
So we had to get in and produce because we had more than just ourselves and our families to look out for. We had the whole weight of the American Black culture on our shoulders because they was only going to give us one of us a chance, right?
Hmm.
They weren't going to give everybody a chance. They're going to give one a chance and see how it goes. And so we had the weight of the American Black experience on our shoulders to prove that we could produce and we could keep up.
Right.
And so it looking back, it was very fulfilling to have the opportunities that I have and have been blessed to be as productive and successful with it as I was. But it was really tough trying to deal with, being the only one in the room that looked
Mm-hmm.
like me, that thought like me, that thought from a worker perspective. Now, one thing that's not publicized about electronics, if you go into the factories, those those fabrication areas,
Mm-hmm.
the Black woman has a huge impact in semiconductor development. They literally run those factories.
Mm.
But that's not publicized. You don't hear that. You don't know that until you actually get in the fab and see who's loading that equipment into those wafers into that equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So
So.
there was some comfort, not comfort, but there was some support from the standard, the regular factory worker, you know, that that really helped me, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of helped me along, and they were more as much of a help as anyone else as far as helping me navigate these waters, these technical waters.
Right. So now, jumping ahead, um, are there more Black people being engineers? What do you think? You would know. So are there more of us, or what's happening now?
Yes, there are more of us, but because the pie is so big, we don't necessarily see a higher concentration of us.
Mm,
There's still situations where there's one or two blacks here or there. That's because there's just the opportunities are so huge. One of the organizations that I'm part of that I take my hat off to, it's the largest run student organization in the world, and that is the National Society of Black Engineering.
mm-hmm,
It's NSBE for short, and that has a huge impact on introducing young college students, freshmen and sophomore,
mm-hmm,
into the industry. And the corporations are really behind it. They have different level of corporate support, and some of that support is really huge monetarily. So organizations like that have really helped, and the National Black MBA Association is very similar, where they're allowing folks to get exposure that they never had available to them in the past.
mm-hmm.
So yes, I think it is better, but I think because this thing is so huge, this pie is so huge, we don't necessarily see higher concentrations.
So are there more of us in leadership positions and starting our own companies now?
Yes. And what we find is that there are a lot of Black, American Blacks that are software developers, entrepreneurs, as far as creating their own little space. You know, again, we haven't touched on like software as far as the web pages. You just think about the number of web pages out there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that is there because of the American Black engineer. Um, we think we also have a huge impact. Uh, excuse me for the us. We also have a huge.
Don't even look. We're just talking, okay? Okay,
We
don't
also
even.
have a. We also have a huge impact on how things look. You know,
Mm,
just our nature is there. We're just there to be great developers because of how we see things. We've seen so many things go wrong that when it comes to development, we have a good idea of what to design for, what kind of fail safes to design in. So just because of our walk, we get exposed to a lot of things other people don't. And a lot of that may be because of failures.
mm, okay. What role does oh, I'm trying to think of the name of it because I know there's different training programs in the school system now. I can't remember it now. I should have wrote it down. But I know that there are a lot of training programs, and know my cousin's daughter when she was in high school, she went to UT. I can't remember
Not
women
big
in
brothers or big
no,
sisters.
it was women in no girls in technology or girls in tech or something like that.
Yes. Also, girls code.
There you go. She was in girls
Something
coding and girls in tech.
right.
And I think that is so wonderful that they're doing that now. And so do you do you mentor young people? That's the question that I wanted to ask you. Do you take on a mentoring role because you have so much to offer? So do you ever take on that mentoring role?
Through Nesby, I've been
Hmm.
able to reach quite a few young folks and give them a feel for what it is that I do. Test engineering is my area of engineering, and it's not
Expertise.
expertise. Yes, thank you. It's not a lot of folks know or understand what test engineering's about. And so as part of Nesby, and TI does a good thing to have a Black Employees Association. And so
Hmm.
we can get together and we can work with the young folks. So in that aspect, yes, probably my most impactful mentoring that I have done over the years is I coach soccer and I
Hmm.
coach little guys. You know, I start with 4-year-olds and I can take them to maybe about 10 and then my skill set is done.
Hmm.
But in mentoring those, because my approach was in order for us to change the world, or what will change the world, is little boys growing up to be good men.
Yes. Hmm.
A 4-year-old boy really doesn't know how to shake hands. And if we, teach our kids how to shake hands, that's a level of respect.
Hmm.
And so I have spent, I think, 11 years total coaching young men, trying to teach them to be men. And the
Hmm.
first thing when I talk to their parents, the first thing I tell them is, your son's going to be respectful. He will be required to say yes, sir, and no, sir, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And that's not one of, I don't look at it as one of the slave mentality things. I look at it as if every single person in this world deserves respect.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to earn my respect. I have always called you Miss Jeannie.
Yeah, you
Have
do.
I not? I
And I'm younger than you.
right
Yes.
by a long ways, you know.
I
But
always thought that was kind of strange.
I have always called you Miss Jeannie because everybody deserves respect. Who am I
Okay.
to say you have to earn my respect?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I to say you
Mm-hmm.
gotta earn? You don't have to earn it. Now you can
Mm-hmm.
lose it, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give it to you freely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and because of that, I think it has really helped also my career because the person you're talking to is not the one that's listening the closest. So when we're in these situations in the offices and in the cubicles, you know, there are people that are listening that you really have no idea that you're influencing. And
Wow.
I believe because of the way I respect and try to respect everyone, I think that has influenced people to support me and to be on my side.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's
So
deep.
yes, I try to pass that on. My sons know that if I hear them address an elder, and like my dad said, and they don't put a handle on their name, they're looking around ducking because they know I'm coming after them.
Mm.
So they've been told by their managers that no, don't call me Mister, and they're like, I have to. My dad says I have to. So my thing is, I'm trying to pass on some respect. I'm trying to pass that level back, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we try so hard to give our kids everything that we didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
and we forget to give them what we did have.
Oh,
And the
wow.
one and the one thing we did have, I know in the Arrington household, we had respect.
Right.
We had respect for everybody we came in contact with. So again, don't try to give them everything you didn't have. Give them what you did have, starting with the fundamentals.
Wow. That was great. So let me open it up to questions. Does anyone have any questions for Michael? Let's take a second and see. You're doing good.
Uh-oh.
You're doing really good. It's like,
I,
wow.
I didn't realize
You,
there were people
you
listening like that.
yeah, we're live. Yeah,
Okay,
you're
I
dropping some
got you.
truth. You dropping some truth bombs. You really
Well,
are. Like, what?
I count it as a blessing. It's nothing that I've done. It's just how it's come to me. And I've met some wonderful people. I truly in my journey have met some incredible people. And when I grow up, I'm gonna be like Tyron Arnold. When
That's my
I grow
husband,
up,
guys.
when I grow up, I'm gonna be like Tyron Arnold. I mean,
Okay.
that brother, man, oh man. Yep. I man. Yep. He is, we worked really close together,
Mhm.
and we would be in the fab sometimes, we'd be in the lab sometimes together. And guys would come up to me thinking that I was him, and vice versa. Guys go up to him thinking that he was me. I'm like, oh no, don't degrade this brother like that. He is way above my level. So, but yeah, he is my closest brother in the technology field, in the circuit development field that I have.
Okay, so I have a question. What was the Texas Instruments environment like? Oh, that's a long pause.
Oh, that is I'm sorry, but I have to really formulate this, right? Because moving from Ohio, right, where, Northeast Cleveland is a relatively level speaking as far as there's no drawl, or it's, if you're from Cleveland and you talk to someone from Cleveland, they're from Cleveland. But if you go other places, people really can't tell that you're from that part of the country just because of how we speak in the area. Again, the education system was integrated and did very well, was very productive early on. So what do I think about how was that Texas Instrument culture? It was a huge culture shock when I first got to Texas Instruments. Again, hopefully there's no one from West Virginia on here that's gonna just hate me. But in Ohio, we related draws or speaking draws to folks from West Virginia. So when I moved to Dallas, that was kind of what's in the back of my mind when I hear the Texas draw and the Texas slang. But one thing that I quickly came to realize and understand, the intellect of the Texas Instrument environment did not meet the draw. The intellect was much greater, and I was totally thrown off by that level of intellect. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the fact that so many people inside the corporation was really there to develop their skills and to hone their craft. I think it really worked out really well. Now there were a few managers that I came in contact with that literally tried to sabotage me,
Mm-hmm.
and thanks for the effort of the internal teams, the ethnic teams, the corporate ethnic teams within TI. I was able to get one issue resolved. Uh, I had managers come at me at another corporation just because of my position, and the way that the workers, my co-workers, at the time we called them our customers and our vendors, even though they
Mm-hmm.
were internal co-workers. The way they respected me and the way they leaned on me for their help and for their growth. There were several managers that really didn't like that, and they literally tried to sabotage
Mm-hmm.
my career. And again, I had to go and I had to utilize the ethics department in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And my choice was either do that or sue.
Mm-hmm.
I know I could have won the case. It was hands down, but I would have lost a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, man, the friends that I've gained in this industry from every walk of life, every culture, every continent. Well, not Antarctica, but you know,
Okay, I have another question for you, from Dion. She wants to know what made you want to be an engineer.
again, the aptitude tests for the Air Force showed that I had some technical skills.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that was not on my radar. I wanted to be a musician. Uh, and so I really chased that. Once I saw that integrated circuit, that's what made me want to be an.
Explain what an integrated circuit is, because some people don't know. I just know because there's stuff laying all around in Tyron's office every day. So if you have an example that you could show them, or
It's an integrated circuit is a computer chip. And
mm-hmm.
so inside the circuit, it does, what your phones,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a group of integrated circuits. Let's see here. You see the square?
Yes.
That is
Mm-hmm.
an integrated circuit.
Mm-hmm.
Sun Microsystems really supported the internet when it first came into being. This circuit is the first dual core Sun Spark system on copper.
Mm-hmm.
So copper is the interconnect which allows the current to flow from one circuit to the next. So a computer chip. And we were faced with a lot of challenges back in the day. In fact, in the late 1980s, early 90s, we were talking about handheld appliances. The hurdle we had to get over was the screen, the video, because remember the big back televisions?
Mm-hmm.
They had to have that high voltage power supplies to make the screen sweep. So we had to overcome that if we were going to get a handheld appliance. So we worked
Mm-hmm.
on a circuit called a VGA, Video Graphics Adapter. That allowed us to pixelate every dot on the screen. And once we could control all the dots from a circuit, we no longer needed the high voltage, which meant we could go to a handheld appliance such as this.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing was having system on a chip. We had to be able to get a computer, and we started with the 486, trying to put a
Okay,
486
people,
on
that's
one
there's a
full
lot of
chip.
different
It
terms.
took a 5 chip.
Okay, there's a lot of different terms that people don't know what you're
Yes,
talking
ma'am.
about.
I
Okay,
know.
we are not engineers, so yeah, keep
Okay.
okay. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am. Yes,
so
ma'am.
love to
So,
travel with
but yes.
Wave. Here's another question for you. I think she might have just joined. Love to travel with Wave. She wants to know if your parents had any influence on you picking your career path.
Other than the fact that dad said, hey, here's your opportunity, you can take it, or basically he was saying you can go in the mill. So,
Mm-hmm.
with that respect, yes, they had a lot of hidden influences because we had to fix our own stuff. I had to work on my own cars. So, the things that dad had us doing developed my mechanical inclination.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, in that respect, we didn't really have a sit down saying, hey, I should go into engineering. No, no, we
Mm-hmm.
didn't have that kind of discussion. But
There's
just
more.
their normal parenting, yes, it was an influence in just their normal parenting.
So it's more so like just fixing stuff, which made you become interested in becoming an engineer.
It really heightened my mechanical involvement. So yes, yes, it did help an awful lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we
Well,
having to tear those appliances apart, we got to see the insides of how things work.
mm-hmm.
And I was always like that. I, I could buy a radio, but I couldn't buy speakers from my car, like really good ones. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to make my own.
Mm-hmm.
And some wood and speakers and screws and some string, some wire. Yeah. So, yes, I think it was more of an occupational development as opposed to a sit down conversational.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going
Hopefully
to.
that answered her
That was
question.
a good. That was to me. That was an excellent answer because I think that's why Tyron started with the engineering because he was always trying to figure out how things work and taking things apart. So I'm pretty sure a lot of engineers have they developed into that industry because they were always interested in how things work.
Hmm.
That's, I mean,
Yeah.
from what I've been understanding and meeting engineers, you guys seem to want to know you have a vested interest in discovering how things work, which made you do go into the career that you are in. So anyway, so if anybody has any more questions, I'm gonna wait a couple of seconds. I feel like I'm on Jeopardy.
Now, one thing that I want to make sure I get out, since this is my 10 seconds of, of being here.
Go ahead.
I love to grill, to barbecue. That is something that I learned how to do here, and I've been blessed to be involved with some what I'll call pit masters,
Hmm.
and I'm ready for the challenge. If you're in Dallas, in the Dallas area, the second Saturday in June, we'll probably start about 10 o'clock. Cockrell Hill in DeSoto, we will be giving away free barbecue.
Mm.
So if you're in the Dallas area, come on by. It's free. All you got to do is say what you want. We're going to have briskets, ribs, sausage, and the fixings to go with it.
Now, where in the Cockrell Hill area? Where exactly?
It's at Cross of Christ Lutheran Church on Cockrell Hill between Beltline and Pleasant Run in
Hmm.
DeSoto.
And what day is this again?
It is June 11th.
Okay. Okay, so I don't
It's
see any.
Saturday,
Oh, Saturday, Saturday, June what?
11th.
June 11th. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Mykol, thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on my show. You have been a really good friend to my husband, and I really appreciate you. And then you guys don't know this guy, how far he drove all the way across town from where do you live in DeSoto?
I live in DeSoto.
Yeah,
Right.
all the way from DeSoto to Richardson, Texas. How long was that trip?
It's on a good day I can make it in about 35 minutes.
When
On
you
the
came.
tough day it was a good 50 minutes. And this was during the Central Expressway reconstruction. So the old Central Expressway was terrible. It was really bad.
So let me finish this story. My
Yes, ma'am.
uncle came from St. Louis, Missouri, Stan Johnson, and this man drove. How was it, about an hour? He
Yeah, it's
said he
about an
was
hour.
coming to get him, and I didn't believe it. I said, "Oh, he's not driving way over here at night to come pick up Stan." He came and he picked my uncle up, and he took him to some ranch, the Black Cowboy Ranch, right?
Yeah, we call it the spot.
To the
It's
to
it's a
to the spot.
it's
Okay.
a it's a group of brothers. We have this lease property. We're in on it together. Uh, Several black cowboys. There's some horses on the property. And everyone has their own thing going, and we just kind of get together and we play dominoes, and it's a great feeling. My friends that have come to visit me, uh, that's where I take them. I take the fellas to the spot, and they love it. They can't wait to get back.
And
So
Stan still talks about that to this day. He had such a good time. Didn't they somebody give him a cowboy hat or something?
yeah, I think they did.
Yeah, they
Yep.
gave my uncle from St. Louis a cowboy hat. And
Right.
he still has it and he still talks about it. And he said
He
whenever he gets back, he wants to come see Mykol and the guys at the
At the spot.
at the spot.
At the spot. That's right. You know, that's a unique thing with this particular area, and I think with that most of the country has no clue about the black cowboys in the
Hmm.
Dallas Fort Worth area and how organized and how well um, involved they are and entrenched they are into the equestrian line. So these brothers, man, they know their animals, they love their animals, and they're just cool people. They're just cool people. I just love them to death.
I'm gonna have to get out there and do a video with them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
'Cause
ma'am.
I
Because there's some
really
unique brothers. Now, Miss Jeannie, there's a lot of lying going on. So I don't know if your lie filter is that deep.
I tell you what, I'll just record it. I'll just record it and then go back and do the editing. Okay, that's the plan. But maybe next time when we get to Dallas, I have to ask Tyron.
Right.
We'll be there the first week of June. So
Okay.
maybe next when we get there, you can take me out there and I can interview the guys out there with their horses, and because a
Right.
lot of people don't know that the original cowboys were black.
We're black.
People
Right.
don't know that, and they don't know that the Lone Ranger was based after a black man. Something. What's his
Right.
name? Bass. What's the
I'm
guy's
I
name?
don't
Something
I
Bass.
don't remember, but I do know that it was based on a black man.
Hmm.
Yeah. And these guys are incredible, and it's really a lot of work to maintain animals like that. It is
Hmm.
you got to be involved every day. You got to do something with it. And I've seen some pretty incredible horses and guys do some incredible things on some of these horses
Mm.
at the rodeos and things like that.
Oh, so are you talking about the Fort Worth rodeo, or what are you talking
Oh,
about?
right. Yeah, the black rodeos, the color of was it Cowboys of Color rodeo. When it comes
Hmm.
to your area, go check out these cats and how they have trained those animals.
Mm.
You noticed on Saturday the Derby winner. What was it? Right stride or whatever the Derby winner was.
Hmm.
You notice toward the end, once they had all the photos, you notice it was a brother that was with that horse.
Hmm.
That was a brother that was kind of, managing the horse. And, that horse is probably most comfortable with that brother than anyone else on earth.
Okay, the man's name was Bass Reeves. Okay, I looked him up. Tyron looked him up too. We both kind of did it the same. Bass Reeves. Okay, let's see. Let me click on this real quick. Okay, the actual Lone Ranger seems to be inspired by an African American man named Bass Reeves. Reeves had been born a slave but escaped to the West during the Civil War. He eventually became deputy of the U.S. Marshal and was a master disguise, an expert marksman, and a Native American companion, and rode a silver horse. So, people, we got to know our history. A lot of history is hidden from us, and we need to take the time for ourselves to
Exactly.
learn our own history.
Right.
Because I didn't know this when I was a kid. I
Right.
didn't know. It
Right.
wasn't until after I got out of college that I learned all this. The
And
same thing with this. Go ahead, Michael.
and we have to step out of our comfort zones,
Mm-hmm.
right? You may see a guy come into a store and he's got on his boots, he's got mud on him, and he looks like he just doesn't take care of himself. The Oftentimes that's not true. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
That old adage, you can't really judge a book
Judge a
by
book
its
by its
cover.
cover. Right.
And so we have to step out of our comfort zone and get involved with people that are not like us
Mm-hmm.
They are colored, but again, they're not like us because again, we're a mixture, we're a melting pot of guys that
Yeah.
do all types of jobs. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not
I
no one else down there is an engineer, quote unquote, but they are stellar in their own fields.
Right. I remember I was working my degree's in theater arts, okay? But I was working at a theater company and there was a black man who was the janitor and everybody was like, "Don't talk to him. He's the janitor." And I was like, "Why not?" So I talked to him. Come to find out, this man was just working there part-time and he had a jazz band at night. And I went to see him, and he was an excellent trumpet player. He played several instruments. So they were like judging him because he was a janitor, not knowing that this man was a
He
skilled saxophone player. And I think he even played a string instrument. I think I saw him playing the bass cello up on
yeah,
stage. But
yeah,
they just saw this guy, this old black guy, sweeping, and they just assume. So,
right, right. He chose to be there and he
right.
wasn't there because he was forced to.
No, he was just there.
He chose, right. It's
Yeah, he
what he
was just,
wanted to do.
yeah, he said, "Oh, I'm just here because, just pick up a little extra money, but I'm a musician." I was like, "What?" Because I took the time to
Right.
find out for
You
myself.
stepped out.
Because everybody was just walking past him. I was like, "Who is this guy? I want to know." So I took the time and found out the man had a couple of CDs. This before
Right.
streaming.
Yeah.
This is way before streaming. It had some
Right.
CDs. The brother was bad. I was like, wow, I've been to Europe, played in Paris. And he's
Yeah.
just like, I'm just here to earn a little bit of extra money. He said, I really don't need it. But what am I gonna do? Sit around in my apartment all day? I was like, you're something else. I said, yo, you're a badass.
Uh,
But
yeah.
he was.
Exactly. And you really find that all it takes is to talk to someone.
Hmm.
You just want to say hi. My mom worked in a state hospital,
Hmm.
and so she got my brother a job out there, and he would go around talking to these folks. I'm like, dude, what's up? And he says, man, all they want is somebody to recognize that they live.
Hmm.
And my wife works with kids in wheelchairs, and when we see them in public, you should see how these kids react to her because she treats them just like they're a regular old person. And they just show her all kind of love because she shows them that
Hmm.
kind of love. Yeah. So yeah, you definitely gotta step out. Jeannie,
Right.
I want to pitch something really quick.
Okay, then we're gonna go. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. If you have $5, if you have $10, send it to the National Society of Black Engineering. Those young folks are out there. They're trying their best. Just send a donation to the National Society of Black Engineering. You're gonna help someone.
Wow, that was good. I'm gonna take a quick picture.
Yes, ma'am.
Smile, Michael.
I don't do
Let me
that very
get.
often. I'm
Okay,
normally
ready?
behind the
You ready?
camera.
You ready? Oh
No,
yeah.
man. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah. Michael does photography too. I forgot to mention that. This guy does everything. So again, Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Miss Jeannie,
And
bless you. Bless you, Miss Jeannie. Home
Miss
girl.
Jeannie. Okay, so I'm playing us out. Love and peace and blessings. Goodbye.
That's right. Same to you. Tell Uncle Stan I said, what's up? Peace, brother.